All right, I don't know what time it is on your clock, but I know what I'm getting ready for. It is time for the Professional CISO Podcast with David Malicoat.
Welcome to the Professional CISO Podcast. I'm your host, David Malicoat. This show is an exploration of the topics necessary to professionalize the role of the CISO. All right, today we have an interview with a public sector technology leader in local government for about 21 years, maybe a little over. His roots are in teaching and grew up as a sysadmin and then grew through the ranks now to a CIO. But before we do that, we're going to talk about some notable stuff. So he is an avid golfer, which we were just talking about that before we started rolling. Good stuff there. And then, of course, we're here in Florida, in Miami, so loves the beach, loves taking the family to the beach, living that Florida lifestyle. So we'll talk about that a little bit as well. But before we get into our guest, I do want to talk about, we're on site at the Secure Miami Conference this week, and it's hosted by Digital Era Group as well as Florida International University. And so the theme for this year's conference is Accelerating Tomorrow's Cybersecurity. Everyone here, very excited. They've been looking forward to these insights, the collaboration, and the actionable takeaways. So now let's talk about being a professional CISO. In today's episode, our guest is Ricardo Suarez. He is currently the CIO of the city of Hialeah. Make sure I get that right. And he spent a vast majority of his career there. So I think that's going to be interesting. We're going to talk about some continuity, I'm sure. Please welcome Ricardo Suarez.
Dave, thank you very much for having me.
Awesome.
Pleasure to join you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. All right, so I love talking to my guests about their human story or the human side of the story, right? Because we can all talk about the bits and the bytes and the career and the leadership.
That gets boring.
What about maybe as a young man, maybe even as a child? Like, talk to me your journey getting into cybersecurity. And I say cybersecurity, technology in general, cybersecurity as it comes today. But, you know, what are those early times? And talk me through that arc of your story.
So early on, it was more of, playing the games online. That was the first exposure, playing, Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego?
Yeah.
So gained interest there, then got into the whole AOL thing. Built my first computer, I want to say 12, 13.
Love it.
Around that time frame. I was a baseball player, so that took over that part of that time of my life. But once I finished baseball, decided, you know what, I enjoy computers. That's the direction I want to go. That's where we went. Brings us to today.
And so talk to me a little bit about the education aspect, right? So you said you played baseball. I'm sure that was it post high school into college?
It was. Started, obviously, young age, played in high school, elementary, played high school, and then played at Miami-Dade College for 2 years. Second year, got hit in the head. So that went by the wayside, and that's where I decided to focus on the cyber side.
And so computers. Degree in technology?
Information technology from AIU.
Love it. Yes. Okay. And so did that lead you down a path of like straight technology, sitting at the keyboard? I'm the person, doing the day-to-day. Kind of want to understand how that developed. So
prior to moving directly fully into IT, I was a teacher for 3 years. I taught at a local high school, Office 2000, 2007 at the time. And then from there was pulled to start doing tech work. I was already going to school for IT at that point. I had got my A from Miami-Dade General and then moved into more focused, came to FIU for about a year, did computer engineering and decided to move into the information technology world instead. Like the well-roundedness of it.
Right.
What I enjoy the most is infrastructure and networking. Mm. So did that at the city for a bit, was tech, then moved into the engineer side, moved into the administrator role, and obviously now I'm sitting at the CIO.
Excellent. Love it. All right. So in our pre-conversation, we talked about you do have the role of basically CISO as well.
Yes, I share it with one of my employees.
But ultimately, the executive responsibility falls on your shoulders.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And we also talked a little bit about the idea of the changes that are happening or the demands that are coming on that role, whether you call, whatever you want to call it, but those that are in charge of cybersecurity at an executive level at an organization. Do you feel like we need to professionalize that role or that function, or what does that mean to you, or what are your thoughts on that? What do you
I
see?
would say yes, right? I think it's another C-level that needs to be at the table. I don't know that I necessarily want it under the CIO.
Interesting, coming from a CIO?
Yes. I believe the CISO role, along with the CIO, can produce a better product than if he's reporting up to the CIO.
Interesting.
Right? CISO has a different view of the pane of glass than I do.
Right.
I'm bringing technology. He's telling me how we're securing technology.
Right.
Right? And he's making sure that no matter where I want to take us, we're doing it securely.
Right.
So I do. I do believe in making it a professional role with possibly certification that guides the course through them.
Right.
Yes.
And so, and I think maybe talk about the certification side of things, maybe like a foundational, like a core set of things that a CISO should be able to exhibit.
Yes. Yes.
How do you feel about the risk aspect of cybersecurity or technology, right? So I think that's one of the things that I'm seeing as a pattern coming up, where it's more about technology risk than it is about tools or cybersecurity threats, or right? It's becoming that larger conversation. What are your thoughts on that?
So unfortunately, every tool you have has a risk. And so now, from a CIO's perspective, doing the security, if I have to focus on both the tool and the risk, it's a lot harder to work with. If I bring in a CISO, have him worry about the risk, have him concerned on the security, allowing me to understand what the tool can really do to better the business.
Right.
I think it creates a better marriage.
Excellent. Love it. So 21 years, that's atypical, right? That's a pretty long time, especially for a CIO. And so you got to be doing something right? So talk me through how you engage, how you build and nurture relationships. Kind of talk me through that aspect of things.
So listen, being in government, there's politics that plays a role.
Of course.
I don't get involved in politics, right? I stick to my job. And I make it clear that I'm there for the business, to keep the business going and make sure we are meeting what we need to do.
Right.
Build the relationships by letting them understand, hey, listen, I'm a straightforward guy. I am black and white with them. I tell them what it is. I'm not there to tell them what they want to hear. I'm there to tell them what the job requires.
Absolutely. Love it.
And I think that's what's helped me stick around for so long.
Known quantity.
I do my job.
Yeah, known quantity. What you see is what you get.
That's it.
Gotcha. Okay. We're here at the Secure Miami conference. Generally speaking, talk to me about the value of conferences. What do you look to in any given general conference, not necessarily Secure Miami? Like what?
So my biggest benefit to going to a conference is the networking.
Yeah.
And the bouncing ideas, having conversations with people that are going through the same situations we're facing. May not be identical, but similar enough.
Right.
Understanding how they got through them and or what their plan is to get through them, right? Because most of us are facing the same challenges.
Absolutely.
We're in the middle of getting through those and addressing them. How are we getting there? How are you doing it? What options do we have that can change our current approach, that may make it better, make it easier, and make it more efficient?
Right.
To me, that's it. The conversations around the different situations.
Do you ever find that you move into an area and conversations get a little sensitive? How do you kind of manage that side of things as well?
You always end up going sensitive, right? You try to avoid giving too much information because you do. It's a tough challenge because being government, you can't divulge any particulars. And you got to stay high level, but at the same time, try to get enough information to be able to address your situation. So yes, face that a lot.
Got it. And so let's talk Secure Miami. So here we are, Digital Era Group, Florida International University. You spent some time here. So coming back to, is this the campus that you were at?
Yes, it was this campus.
Yeah, so a little alma mater to a degree.
Yes.
What do you like about this conference specifically? And what do you hope to see, learn, or what have you learned so far?
This conference, obviously, it's local. So for us, it's right down the street. Come, spend the day here. Talk to different vendors that are local.
Yeah.
Right, that we can build that relationship with. I've picked up a few different vendors I've spoken to over the last few years because we have come the last few years. I think it's more of understanding from them how they can help us.
Right.
Find that niche product that I haven't really seen yet.
Right.
And what it can bring to me.
Right. So one of the things that we talk about on this show quite a bit is the innovation aspect of things. Is that where you're looking kind of for your innovation side of things?
I do. I mean, and I can talk about one of the products in particular. I don't know if we want to go down that path.
Sure, we can. Absolutely.
So Island to me
yes.
is that secure browser.
So Island is a friend of the show, so we're good there.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. So having deployed it, have had conversations around it, to me, that's a game changer.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
Secure around the entire environment.
Yep.
You're not concerned about anything coming in or going out.
Right. And it loosens up, so VPN, you don't have to worry about that as much anymore.
So to me, that's
Yep.
one of another big product that we learned about here and have rolled out is Sentinel-1.
Ah, yep.
I'm not sure if they're a friend of the program.
It's okay.
But nevertheless.
I don't think we have a EDR at this point that's a friend of the show, so opportunity out there for y'all.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so on the innovation track, do you worry as an executive leader that, as you kind of put your head up to look at these new innovations, that you kind of get stuck in that sales cycle for some of these vendors? Does that concern you at all? Because I've heard that from other executives as well. It can get a little crazy.
It definitely can, and then you have too many items coming your way. You have too many conversations, too many meetings, and it does become overwhelming at some point. But at the end of the day, if it's a product you're interested in, it makes sense and fits.
Yeah, for sure.
It's worth
the time.
It's worth the time.
Gotcha. All right, so let's talk a little bit of leadership. Again, 21 years. I'm gonna keep hitting that one pretty hard because
Right.
Obviously you've learned a lot in 21 years. I'm sure you've modified your style or honed your style in 21 years. So what is your style?
So because I came up through the ranks, and it's been hard to let go of some of the roles, I am at the same level of my guys, right? I am still an active member of the team.
Player coach.
I'm a player coach.
Love it.
I am definitely not a delegator. I am definitely not, hey, do this. No, that doesn't work.
Do you find it hard to do delegation when it's necessary?
No.
Obviously, in 21 years, you've honed that pretty well. I love it.
No, if I need to delegate something, I will. But I'm not afraid to take a stab at it, understand it, and then delegate it.
Right.
Right? Is it something that I should be handling, or is it something I need to delegate? That's more the decision that I drive.
Love it. And then, can you talk to me about the development over time? So maybe something, because I really like to have actionable takeaways on the show for folks that, because it's not just CISOs that are listening to this, it's these folks that want to develop to be CISOs. Like, can you talk me through how your development of your leadership style over time, and maybe give folks insight into that? That way they can kind of have some takeaways of what they may be experiencing.
So I think some of my biggest development has come from conversations with other either C-levels or directors, or even people leading a small group, big group, doesn't matter, but those conversations, understanding their approach and how they come around and have those tough conversations.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest and the toughest part for me, at least, is the tough conversations. So I'm always learning. I'm always trying to get better at what I'm doing. But yeah, it's a challenge.
Right.
Definitely is a challenge.
Gotcha. And then just specifically, if you wanted to look into the camera and give advice for young leaders, young cybersecurity or technology leaders today, what would that be? Like, what would be that one or two sentences you would put out there?
So listen, at the end of the day, do not give up on what you're trying to get to. Ask a lot of questions, and don't be afraid to not get it the first time. Right? At the end of the day, you're trying to become the better or the best person you can be. So.
Love it. And, yeah, I can't even say anything after that. All right, gang. We know what time it is. We're getting toward the end of this thing, and I had warned Ricardo about the 10 questions. Obviously, we're not as much reach. We reach pretty decently in DFW area there in Texas, but not as much in Miami. So I warned him a little bit. Warned Ricardo. We got 10 questions coming up. First, what's your favorite word?
My favorite word?
Just word.
I like to use yes a lot.
Yes. Love it. What's your least favorite word?
No.
No. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I got you. What area of your work do you find most interesting?
I would say it's the relationship building.
And what area of your work is the most challenging for you?
Managing people.
Managing people. What sound or noise do you love?
Waves of the ocean.
Yes. I may have guessed on that one. What sound or noise do you hate?
People honking the horn.
Oh, yeah. I get that. I was telling my creative director over here this morning, I'm like, people are pretty aggressive on the horns here in Miami.
Yes.
It's interesting. I was like, we get it in Dallas, but I mean, it's at a different level here.
Oh, it is a different level down here, yes.
Absolutely. What's your favorite curse word?
It is a Spanish one.
Okay.
It's coño. And because it says so much, right? It stands for shit. It stands for damn. You know, so, yeah.
Can you help this gringo with the pronunciation?
Coño.
Coño.
That's it.
Coño.
Yeah.
Got it.
That's it.
All right. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I'd love to be a PJ professional.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Second time we've had that on the show, by the way.
Absolutely.
Love it.
I think that would be amazing because it has a teaching factor.
Yes.
And then it has obviously that's my hobby. So
Yeah.
why not?
What profession would you not like to do?
That's a good one. That's a tough one.
And I always like to let people know it's not an indictment on anybody because we all have personal preferences, right?
Yeah. So it's funny. My brother's a fireman. I don't think I can be a fireman.
Understood.
From the medical perspective.
Absolutely.
I'm not a fan of the medical field. So.
I understand.
Yeah.
Final question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear your God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Welcome.
Everyone, Ricardo Suarez.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ricardo. Appreciate you coming on today. Great conversation. Loved it. Today we talked about how in a long tenured, what do you do to establish relationships? We talked about leadership. We talked about Ricardo's journey as it came from, humble beginnings as a simple sysadmin or just on the keyboard or even as a teacher. So appreciate you today. Obviously, we talked about the conference as well.
Excellent.
What do you think about that? If you hear the background noise, that's why we're here. It's all good. Love it. Love the energy. And colleagues and friends, I renew the call. We must professionalize the role of the CISO. So until next time, I wish you health, happiness, and success on your journey in becoming the professional CISO. Let's do this.
We're professionalizing the CISO role, so please subscribe to the Professional CISO Podcast.